So today I'm going to focus on making beef stock. We're out and I like to keep the pantry full, so we're going to make some and we're going to can it. What I've got are my vegetables that I'm going to use here in a little bit. I've got some marrow bones from where we made some bone marrow bread, and then I cut the bones and just threw them in the freezer. And now what I'm doing is I'm going to roast some bones. So these are just beef bones that did not seal well, and so we kept them for our own personal use. So the reason that I'm going to roast these in the oven, it'll just bring the flavor out more. I'm going to put them in the oven at 400, and I'm going to put them in there for about 20 minutes and see what they look like. I just want them brown. While our bones are roasting, we're going to cut our vegetables. So I've got celery, some carrots, some onion, and a few garlic cloves.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Alright, that's all the vegetables. I've got some herbs that I'll throw in here in a little bit. And then here's my roasted bones, my bone marrow bones that are already roasted. So we're just waiting on the bones in the oven to get roasted. Okay, I got my roasted beef bones. I'm just gonna throw them in my pot. The next thing I'm going to throw in here are these marrow bones. I'm going to add some water. Alright, next thing I'm going to put in here, I've got my pot about half full of water. My bones are covered up. I'm going to put about half a cup of apple cider vinegar. Now I'm going to go in with my vegetables. Alright, we're going to give this a good stir, everything mixed together. Alright, we're putting it on the stove. Once this comes to a boil, there's going to be a lot of like scum, like white stuff that comes up to the top. That's normal. What we're going to do is just skim it off the top, all those impurities off the top. Alright, as you can see, we are at a boil. I've turned it down just a little bit to get the boiling down some. And I'm stirring it. And I'm going to put the lid back on. I'm just going to let it sit for a minute and see what's at the top. I'm going to skim. You can kind of see around the edges what I'm looking at. I'm just going to skim it off. So we're going to let this simmer. Last thing I'm going to add in here is some peppercorns. Hey, Papa. That's some parsley.
You said, hey, baby puppy. You said, hey, baby puppy.
I got a few sprigs of thyme. That's it. All done. Alright, so my beef stock has been on the stove since yesterday morning about 9 a.m. It has been about 26 hours since I let it go. I'm going to go ahead and start getting everything ready to get it canned up today. You can take it as long as 72 hours and really pull all those nutrients out of those bones and those vegetables. But as for sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and pull mine. All of the supplies that I'm going to use right here, I'm assuming it's going to take about 7 quart jars. We're going to see maybe a little bit less, maybe some more. But I've got 7 laid out. I'm going to get these washed, get the lids washed, get them in warm water so that the heat from the stock doesn't crack our jars. I've got my canner right here. I've got some instructions that I always use to go by, and then I've got some tools right here, and we'll go over everything in just a second. So first step is getting my jars washed. All of my jars and my lids are washed. This is my canner right here. I can fit 7 quarts in here and it'll be at full capacity. So for 7 quart jars, I'm going to put 2 quarts of water in my canner. All right, there's my 2 quarts of water in my canner. What I've got now is my jars in my sink. I scrubbed my sink out real good, got it cleaned out. I'm putting hot water in here, putting some hot water in my jars just so that they stay warm for shock whenever they get in that hot canner in a minute. To heat my lids up on the eye of the stove, this is kind of old school. This is how I was taught to do it when my mom taught me how to do it many years ago, because used to activate the seal on this top, they would have to heat it up. You don't have to do that anymore, but I do it, and it doesn't hurt anything to do it still. Keeps these hot too, and I just put it on low heat on the back of the eye. All right, that's enough. So we're gonna get these on an eye on the back of the stove, and then we're gonna start getting our jars filled up, and the whole process is gonna really start getting underway. Here's my pot with my 2 quarts of water already in it, my cannon pot. This is my pot with my stock in it. It's nice and warm. I've got my jars right here, got my stock. I kind of switched things up a little bit to make it easier. This is just cheesecloth. I'm gonna use it to catch some of this that's on the top. We didn't get everything skimmed off yesterday, which is fine. But I always just run my stock through a cheesecloth. It's just gonna catch all that little stuff. My stock is still warm. I've had it turned off for about 20 minutes, but it is still warm. All the way to about 1/2 inch from the top. All right, I'm gonna stop about right there. All right, so there's our first one. Now, stock is greasy. We've got to make sure that we get the rim cleaned off good. So I've got a clean towel, and I'm just going in and I'm wiping that rim off. And then I'm going to get my one of my tops that are back here on in the pot, and I'm going to set it on here, and I'm going to finger tighten down the lid, and I'm going to set it inside of my cannon pot over here, and I'm just going to repeat that process until I've got all my stock used up, or I've used all 7 of my jars that fit into my canner. All right, I'm getting down to the bottom of my stock pan, and I'm getting into a lot of the vegetables and the bones. So I've just got a slotted spoon right here, and I'm just gonna get some of this big stuff out so that I can filter it better. Every time I go in with my ladle, I'm pulling out a bunch of vegetables and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and pull all this out. This won't go to waste. This will go to the chickens. They'll clean up the bones. I don't know if y'all remember yesterday when we put these in, those were full of stuff. You could see, and look how clean it is now. Everything's just pulled off and down, and all those nutrients have been pulled out. So my next endeavor is going to be rendering lard, and I'm going to do it 2 different ways at least, because I want to show you the different ways to do it. We sell lard. We've sold rendered lard that we had done at a USDA plant. That sold out super fast, so we're sold out of it. But we do sell packs of fat that you can render it down yourself, and so I'm going to show you different ways that can be done. I know for sure I'm going to do it 2 ways that I've done in the past, but I may show a 3rd way as well. I haven't decided yet, so stay tuned for that. If you're ever wondering how to render your own lard down, it's very easy, very simple, and you can do it. We get the question a lot, so I just want to show you. All right, so we're down to the bottom of our stock pot now. We're gonna go back and start filtering the rest of this. Look at all that goodness for the chickens. So my cheesecloth had gotten pretty gross from catching stuff, and so I rinsed it off in the sink. It's a lot cleaner now, and it will be able to filter better.
I need that.
This is the final jar, and we are about to get the canner going. So, lid on, screwed down tight. I'm gonna set it in here with my other ones. So I've got 7-quart jars here in my canner, and I've got 2 quarts of water in here. So I'm at full capacity for my canner. I'm gonna put my lid on. There's a certain way that it goes on. I'm just checking my seal, making sure my seal's good. And then it's going to lock on here. So it's locked on. All right, now this is a weight, and this is how many pounds of pressure. So sometimes you'll use 5, sometimes you'll use, see the numbers, 10, and sometimes you'll use 15. For chicken stock, not chicken stock, but for stock, this is beef stock, I'm gonna use 10 pounds of pressure. So I'm gonna take that 10 and I'm gonna put it right here on this. I've got my heat set about medium heat right now, and the next step that we're waiting on is for the pressure to build up in this. And when it does, this is gonna start jiggling. When it starts jiggling a few times a minute, I know that I'm at a good setting, and I'm going to set my timer. I pressure cook the stock for 25 minutes. The time starts once we get a consistent jiggle. So that's what we're waiting on now. In the meantime, I've got more stock left. All I'm doing is I'm gonna pour this into a jar and I'm gonna stick it in the fridge, and I'm just gonna use it within the next week. I'm not filtering it. I'm not really worried about it anymore. I'll put it in soup, use it for using in vegetables, whatever. So that's perfect. Got about a quart left over. So this would have made 8 quarts, but since my canner only fits 7 quarts, it's not worth going through the whole process just to try to can this. Okay, it sounds like we're getting close. You can kind of hear some little bitty jiggles every now and then. So now what I'm waiting on is just a consistent 2 to 3 jiggles per minute. If it does it too much, I know I need to back off my heat some. We've got a pretty consistent jiggle. I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer to 25 minutes. So my timer just went off, and I'm gonna turn my heat off, and I'm just gonna let the pressure come down on this naturally. I don't wanna pull this or anything. I'm just gonna leave it. That pressure will start coming down, and I can take the weight off, and I'll be able to turn the top easy. That's it. We went for 25 minutes. Pressure's gonna come down now, and once it comes down after a little while, just leave it and forget about it. Then we'll pull everything out and put the cans out, and then they'll start popping, and which means they are sealing, and then they'll be ready to go. This is sat for plenty enough time. We're going to pull them out, and we're going to grab them out of our canner. It smells great.
Literally just one jar.
All right, so that's it. Not a whole lot to the process, more of chopping and getting everything prepared, and then you just put it in a pot, let it go for however long you want to, up to 3 days. And then if you can it, that's what I recommend. It's gonna have a lot longer shelf life. You can put it in the pantry, but another alternative is freezing it. I have done that before. You can freeze it in jars. If you do that, make sure that you leave enough head space for it to expand when it does freeze. But I've started canning it because I didn't want to take up more freezer space since we've got our beef, pork, and chicken, lamb that is already in there taking up space. So there we go. It'll last for a year or so in the pantry canned. I will not let it last that long. We will use this up. So I'm going to write on it what it is and the year, and then I actually remove my fans. I don't keep those on. So that's it.